I'm in a car this time. I mean, I would have been outside, I guess, but this one felt too private. So this video might be a little bit on the long end of things, because it spans across 3 years. This video is going to be about what my life was like as I was detransitioning. And yeah, so that's going to take a while, and I'm going to try to make it pretty short, so maybe some details are going to be, you know, cut out a little bit, but yeah, anyway, so in 2014, I think I was looking at my photos back then, and I think I actually detransitioned sometime this year, actually, like June, July, I think. Yeah, because my first job was in the summer. Yeah. Because that must have been June or July. And speaking of, that's my first point. Yeah, so I had been hired uh, at a grooming spa for mostly dogs, but cats, although very unhappy to be there, they could be there. And I, like, obviously it's 2014, so I was presenting as male. I was hired as male. Everyone thought I was male, so I passed really well, I guess. uh, I mean, clearly, but anyway, so everyone thought that, and uh, um, when I decided, like, I was reading one of my old notebooks, and I actually didn't say, "Oh, I'm a girl now." I pretty much said I am. Well, the cool kids today would call it non-binary, but I called it just like androgynous, female-leaning. So I went with that, and I remember I was friends with one of my coworkers, and we hung out a little bit, and I confided in her one day. I don't remember what time the shift was, but I think it was like closing time, and then I don't really remember. It's been a while. I don't remember how I told her, like, how, I'm not really trans. I'm not I'm not trans anymore. And I don't remember how she reacted to it, but she was overall very positive. So she was a really good friend. And uh that was the first thing. And then and then um I don't remember exactly when, but it was, sometime during that month, uh, I went into my mom's room and I found her makeup bag with her expired makeup bag, mind you. Thank God I didn't get like sick or get pink eye from it. It was so old. Like, it was probably like 5 years old, maybe. I don't know. But in any case, I used that, and the first thing I ever did was I wanted to be really subtle. I also had no idea what I was doing, so I just darkened my eyebrows just a little bit, and I put on, like, it might have just been one shade, it could have been two, but I did it like in the corners of my eyes here and like a little down here, I think, and then over here. Yes, I darkened it right here. Knowing what I know now, I'm like, you can't put it in that corner, otherwise it'll make your eyes look fucking weird. And it did. It did look weird. And I'm probably gonna put photos up on this video to, like, have a cringy, mostly for me, visual of what I was working with. I did not have a good time looking those up. Uh, yeah, so I did that. It was in my, yeah, no foundation, no primer, nothing. It was just, oh, oh, that looks good on my eye. And I never touched this stuff before in my entire life because I had previously I don't know about hated makeup, but I was like, that's for girls. I can't do it. So I avoided it. And then when I finally got into it, yeah, of course I had no clue what I was doing. And it looked kind of, I wouldn't say it looked stupid, but anyway, sorry, I'm getting off track. Yeah, so I went through her bag, put it on, and then my mom noticed it like immediately. And I was so, like, I was embarrassed. It, I don't really know how to describe the feeling, but after having been so stubborn for my entire adolescence and teenagehood, and then finally being like, okay, I've caved. You know, like that stubbornness where you're like, okay, I admit I'm wrong. I, I'm gonna. I feel like some people would understand like being so stubborn and then finally being like, okay, I'm gonna do it. But in the addition of I'm gonna do it hoping that no one will notice. So I was like caught on two things. Ugh, it was kind of mortifying, but it wasn't that bad. Uh, and I did try doing makeup more a little bit later, but I don't know. I didn't really fully get into it until like 2018. But anyway, then I took the risk of going to work with it and also hoping that nobody would notice. And it's like, I don't, like, let me like put out a disclaimer first or premise this with there's nothing wrong with men wearing makeup, but me putting it on so poorly and looking masculine, well, at least in my mind, I was like, I look like a gorilla wearing like testing makeup, you know, before they put it on the market. That's what I felt like. I felt so like eesh. And that's mostly why. That's one of the major reasons why I tried to be subtle with it. But anyway, so I went to work with it hoping nobody would notice, but that coworker friend that I mentioned before, she also noticed it right away, and uh, she's like, oh, "Are you wearing makeup?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I think I said yeah, yeah, yeah." Anyway, and that was kind of embarrassing too. I don't really remember exactly how I felt, but she was also really into makeup and she was thinking about like going to school for it. So of course she noticed and she was really excited and stuff. Bless her heart, really. And then yeah, I mean this story is not very happy because I was like so depressed and so just sad and in my own head and you know going on hormones, going off, you know, switching them up, blah, blah, blah. It was like, that's a lot on the body, so I was not having a good time at all. But I guess for the sake of me trying to be a little bit more entertaining, I'm gonna. And for me as well, just me being like, okay, I can maybe make it a little bit more light than it was back then. So, uh, I don't exactly remember when I contacted my doctor, but it was at some point. At some point after I said, "Oh no, I'm female now," or "I'm androgynous, feminine leaning." I contacted my doctor and I think I was just emailing him and I was saying, yeah. So I contacted him and uh, pretty much told him, oh, I'm not identifying as male anymore. And he was like, okay, well, what you can do is he like accepted it, as easily and as quickly as when I had first come into his office saying, "I'm a man, give me the drugs. Give me the tea, boy." And Jesus. And yeah, so he's like, "Okay, well, what you can do is we're gonna just wean you off of it for like 2 to 3 weeks, reducing it every time, blah blah blah." I don't really remember the details. And I remember feeling horrible about that because it was just like I wanted it to just be done cold turkey, and I could have done that without telling him, but well, I mean, you should always tell your doctor what the fuck you're doing, what the what the hecky you're doing. Yeah, but anyway, yeah, so I weaned off of it. I felt horrible about that because I just wanted to get away from this thing that was continuing to make me feel horrible. I don't remember when, but it was after getting back on estrogen. You know what I naturally produce. I like feared, like I was petrified of my period coming back. I didn't know when it was gonna come. Uh, I figured I had some time, but I was terrified of it. Not just because it's like, ew, gross, period. Oh, I'm, just disgusting. It was, it was because I had been, on testosterone for long enough, and I was like on this 2 year vacation without having to worry about it, and I detoxified my life of all feminine things. So that included, pads and stuff. So I wasn't prepared for that. I was terrified. Uh, yeah, remember where to get periods for other detransitioners out there. Um, yeah, and more advice I have to give actually. Uh, I wish I knew this for my legs, but uh, after I told my mom about my decision, she was, of course, she took it really well, and she was very happy for me, and she wanted to, support and help me out and be female again, because I didn't know anything about, hair removal. So she's like, "Oh, I'll bring my waxing kit the next time I'm here." And so she brings that, and we remove all this hair, all this hair, all the, gorilla back hair. And my advice here is definitely wax. And then also have somebody help you. When it comes to your back, obviously you'd want it anyway, but yeah, definitely don't just shave it. Totally. Like, I don't know. It's speculation. I don't really know how hair works and the hormones, but in my mind, ripping it all out was kind of made it softer, I guess. Because I mean, like that hair never grew back. Like only a tiny bits of hair came back, but for the most part, it's all just normal peach fuzz like I had before. Although sometimes I do get weirdly long shoulder hairs, but whatever. And I think waxing here also made it softer, but I don't know. I don't really know. But in any case, waxing is so much faster and is so much better than shaving. Because when it came to my legs, I think I shaved before. I think I shaved before, so I couldn't wax. And yeah, so that took a really long time, and it took about maybe an hour or 2 hours, maybe an hour and a half. And that was really wax the first time. After that, you can do whatever you want. Personally, I epilate, but whatever. Anyway, back to my story. And then since I basically had just a pixie haircut, I was growing it out from there, and I have curly hair, so it takes even longer because the hair needs to grow into the curls. So, yes, that was really awkward and kind of painful. And I have pictures of those too. I don't know if I'm gonna show them, but just as they were growing, I tried to make it as feminine as I could, but with with the face shape that I had on testosterone and up here too, it looked weird. And I don't know. I swear testosterone did something to my forehead because when I was looking at photos of me when I was on testosterone, my skin looked horrible. But mostly it was like, uh, yeah, I think I seriously think that this one was more prominent. In any case, like it kind of testosterone shaved it down a little bit, but at the time while I was growing, I just looked really weird. Yeah, and then with my name too, I don't want to say my old male name. I don't want to say the experiment name either, but I I did dabble around with other names, and I remember feeling really weird about them. I didn't like how other people would say those names, or just the one. I experimented with just the one. And my mom told me, well, she advised me to do a gender neutral name, which I was like, yeah, you're probably right because I look so weird right now. So I went with Willow because apparently that's gender neutral, even though I've the only time I've seen a male have it was the movie Willow, but in any case, I went with that. So, uh, other like depressing, horrible, hormonal things happened to me, but I'm gonna skip those. I'm gonna skip to 2015 when my hair was grown out enough to where I was like, that looks feminine enough. I'm lonely. I'm gonna get on to online dating now. I'm gonna take it serious. And uh, I believe it's been so long now. I believe I said in my profile that I am a detransitioner, or I said I was once trans, but now I'm not. And then, and I met my husband through this website. He was a little surprised when we first met because my voice was kind of deep, but he accepted it because he knew I was female, so and it was like he was more attracted to my personality more than asking himself whether or not I'm actually have the goods down there. But in any case, yeah. So I think it was in September or something. Uh, he offers me a job at his work, and uh, and we kind of had uniforms. It was like polo shirts, and you could wear any kind of pants you want as long as they were jeans. And then we had an apron over it, and I naturally have a small chest anyway, so like the polo shirt was okay. You could kind of see the other goods up above, and but then the apron just completely made it totally flat. So that made me feel horrible. And a lot of customers would uh, misgender me. Um, but some of them were nice, and they could tell. But like uh, when I'd be like in the aisles, like fronting stuff or putting some stuff away, uh, like someone would come up to me and they're like, "Oh, excuse me, ma'am," or whatever. Do you know where this thing is? I'll turn around and I'll say, "Oh, it's over here," and they're like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry." Or it's a man, but anyway, they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't, sir, I meant sir," stuff like that. And I, like, of course, at first when they were like, "Oh, ma'am," I was like, "Yeah," and then they're like, "Oh, whoops," and I'm like, "No." And then my coworkers, they never came up to me asking this stuff, so and I just don't think I'm really generally aware of what people are like thinking and doing, so I couldn't just tell them. Although I guess I should have just told them, but you know, I don't need to. In any case, so they were like talking amongst themselves. Uh, so some of the people who were working here I recognized from high school. We went to high school together, and they recognized me, and they knew that I was trans, obviously. And then, so when they saw me, they were like, they told these other coworkers who, were strangers basically to me, and they were like, uh, when those people came up to ask them about what my gender was, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, she's trans," and I don't know what their conversation was, but and I guess it was so confusing that these people were like, "Oh, she must be male to female." So that's what they thought of me as. I was just like, ugh. And then this is kind of like a little small little story that happened. It's not really a story, but it's kind of a funny detail where one of them, they were also friends with my husband too at the time, and he was like, yeah, he goes up to my husband. He's like, "So how do you like have sex with your girlfriend?" And he was like, with her vagina." I just thought that was really funny because he assumed I had bottom surgery. You assume I have money. You assumed wrong. Anyway, I didn't really have too many issues with that one, just mostly being misgendered here and there, but not really a story to tell. And then I had my, so then I got another job at, in 2017. And at this point, my hair got pretty long, so it was easier for me to blend in. And plus, we had shirts that I don't think we had aprons, so I could, show off the goods a little bit more. um, and so and it was pretty obvious to me that I passed because a lot of the women would come up to me and be very friendly, as opposed to like the men who kind of stayed away from me, except for one guy I was friends with. But yeah, nothing really happened then. It was just kind of okay. Everything was fine. I'm not entirely sure when I got super serious about voice feminization. I'm pretty sure it was 2017 when I finally started getting more serious. But another little thing of advice I want to add is, well, I guess I was just born with really bushy eyebrows, and so uh, this advice could apply to trans women too. Like, to help you feel more feminine, pluck your damn eyebrows, pluck them, do it. I don't care how much it how much it hurts, just do it. Yeah, so I did that, and I don't know what I did, but what I do now definitely is I try to get the bottom here because plucking out top just makes it look lower. In any case, so I started plucking those, and that made me feel a little bit better about being seen as feminine, and that really helped. That really helped. Yeah, this part, uh, well, I mean, after my husband and I met and stuff, we did have a lot of struggles. I mean, I've never had a relationship before him, so there was a lot of like, I don't know what I'm doing, and he wasn't necessarily like expecting a relationship either, so it was a little weird. So we just didn't really know what we were doing in general, and but uh before we had met, I knew I was non-monogamous. I was polyamorous, but these monogamous, so it didn't really work, and there was a lot of struggles in that. And one really pertinent reason why I wanted to see other people was because, like, during my transition and even before that, and afterward too, like I said before in another video, I felt really ugly, really unattractive. I never had any relationship at all during these times. So I was like, this one guy, this one guy likes me. I wonder how many more can like me and find me attractive. And I really needed that just for a self-esteem thing. Uh, of course, I'm polyamorous for other reasons, but I'm planning on making other videos going into that, maybe, depending. But in any case, so I needed that, but of course it strained our relationship quite a bit. And another reason why I'm bringing this up is because I wanted to put in another piece of advice. Uh, so when I started, uh, even though my husband was kind of against it, he was kind of like, maybe, I don't know. And it's very unethical what I did, and I apologized to him profusely about it, and we're doing much better now, just FYI. But at the time, uh, I hate confessing it, but basically I was pretty much cheating. I mean, I never did anything with anybody, really. I just kind of met them. But it's kind of an emotional cheating in a way, I guess. Even though I didn't get to know really anybody, I just kind of went out, and I was basically just trying to make friends. And that was the lie that I told myself, yeah. And so uh, I put on. I don't think on my profile I mentioned that I was a detransitioner, but so I met this one guy in particular, and uh, I didn't have a car. I didn't have a license either, and I was just like, oh, just pick me up. And then he was like, okay, I'll do that. And he picks me up, or he drives in front of the house that I was at, that I was living at, not just some random house. And I'm coming out, and I greet him. He rolls down his window, and or I open up the door, and I remember distinctly he didn't grab the stuff that he put on the passenger seat. He didn't at all grab for it, and he was just like, "Are you trans?" Because I assume he assumed that I was trans woman, and it makes sense. You don't want to be bamboozled. You don't want to meet this person, and then they have a Willy Wonka, and you know yeah, I get it. I totally get it. But at the time when he said that, and like he knew he did something wrong, and he asked me like, is that really awkward? He didn't smile like this, but it was like, was that really awkward? I'm like, yeah, that's a little awkward. And so he's like, okay, and then he drives off. Oh, I felt like shit. I felt horrible. But now I can look back on it, I'm like, yeah, I can see I was in the wrong there. And so that goes into my advice. Say that you're a detransitioner, and if you haven't done voice training, say that your voice is deep, and it might be a little bit unsettling, because otherwise stuff like that will happen and you'll feel horrible. uh yeah, so there's probably more that I'm not really thinking of right now, um but yeah, pretty much. And it was only in 2018, pretty much, when I finally started getting better at makeup, for one. Uh, my hair was nice. It was in a nice style. And then I discovered bangs to cover my ugly forehead. You can't see it on here, but these like creases. And so then with voice training, my Adam's apple kind of disappeared a little. It's still there, but it's not as pronounced as it was. And like my waist, kind of shrank more than it had the years previous. So I was starting to get a waist back, and that made me feel more feminine. And my chest size did grow. So that was really nice. So I went from like maybe TMI, but I went from like a double A or whatever to just like a full A cuff, I guess. I don't know. So that's probably really nice for some people to know, like for other detransitioners that also try to transition young, like, you know, younger than 18. It's definitely younger than 25, but in any case, uh, yeah, and then I mean, it was quicker, but uh, definitely in 2018, my face slimmed down. I'm pretty sure 2017 or so, maybe even 16. It was probably just the year after I got off that my face finally slimmed down, and that looked nice. The forehead looked a little bit better. Um, that made me feel so much better. Like I don't remember what this looked like. I don't know about my neck. I think that. Oh yeah, like it shrunk a little bit back down. That was good. Uh, yeah. So that that's pretty much the story of what I have. It was a horrible time, and I really don't recommend going on to the other thing. That's pretty much what happened. So I guess all in all, like it gets better, definitely. It's not gonna be like you're not gonna find relief within a year. You're gonna hate the year as a detransitioner. The first year really, really horribly sucks because you're also going through like a second or no, like a third puberty basically. That really sucks. But like as the years go by, it gets easier, easier, and you really need to be diligent on voice training and mostly voice training, and then just doing little things that you can um, do, to help yourself, building certain muscle to get your waist back, I guess, and then getting your ass back too. You can do that. So yeah, but there is hope for sure. Um, yeah, so that's basically it. I'll probably have more later, maybe. I don't know. I'll probably fill them in with other videos, maybe. But yeah, that's my story for this one. Uh, all right. That was fun in the car. Goodbye.